Hello and welcome back. This is Conversations in Artificial Intelligence. This is Paolo, your host, and today we are here ready to start another episode of our podcast. So today, before I go into introducing the very interesting guest, we're gonna cover a topic that we haven't done before. So we're gonna look into how the workforce of today is being trained to, if you like, face the challenge of mastering artificial intelligence in various domains. And so with us today, we have Mark Kerzner, who is the CEO of Elephant Scale and is an entrepreneur, but also a teacher, and he teaches artificial intelligence and big data all over the world. Mark, you have started a company by the name of Elephant Scale in the education field. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you end up starting this company a number of years ago?
I live in Houston, and Houston is in Texas, and everybody saws the Westerns, so they know people ride horses and they shoot their guns. But there is no big data here. Even now, it's the third largest city. It now beats Chicago, but still there is no really big data. It's essentially a cow town and an oil town. And when I started my big data enterprise, there was no work in Houston. So I started a meetup, and I already started teaching at my meetup. And then Intel, who was rolling out their own Hadoop at this time, they found me and they said, "Do you want to teach?" And I said, "Sure, yeah, of course. I'm already teaching at my meetup." And that's how it all started. So I essentially grew into this accidentally. But there is a second part of this. It turns out that I always liked study and I always liked teaching. I'll tell you a short story. Recently, some of my students, after all that I taught them, they said, "How do we become like you? I mean, you seem to know everything about everything. How does that happen?" And I felt that they were honest. They really wanted to know. So I said, "Guys, my story is special. I was a wonder child. I studied mathematics on the university level when I was in grade 5. You don't have to do what I was doing." And then I never use a moment of just fun. I usually don't play games. I'm Russian, but I don't play chess. I study. But you guys, you don't have to be like me. Even if you are 1 or 2% like me, that will be enough. So if you want to learn something from me, don't learn the whole way. I'll tell you, I did strange things. I studied philosophy for 30 years. Don't do that. Nevertheless, if you spend your time studying, that will give you a lot of benefit. So you see, it was not all that accidental. I dropped into this accident, but I was really teaching and studying all my life.
So why do you think today there is a demand for big data? Started a number of years ago and now it's evolving into more machine learning. Where do you think the interest comes from? What is the one thing that motivates the most people to get into this field?
You see, we started teaching big data about 6-7 years ago. So it was interesting, it was okay, but it wasn't as hot as it's becoming now. And what exactly is becoming hot now? This is AI. For example, we teach at many very large companies like Walmart and the same, and we hear these companies are saying that 2019 should be the year of AI. So I see it everywhere. I was in China. I'll tell you a story. Those guys said at the end, and I was teaching advanced Spark, so it's not really AI, but at the end we went into machine learning. They said their boss told them that they need to put AI into this particular system. So that, and it's a home loan, one of the largest in China. So they need an AI part, just because their boss told them. And they need it on a Chinese server, they need it with the Chinese provider, and they needed flashes so that people would know that they're using AI. So that is happening in every large company. So that's one side of the things, is that the boss tells them. Another side of the things is that Google tells them. If you look at what Google is doing, Google is wasting millions and billions of dollars, not wasting, but giving them away for education. They want the whole humanity to be able to do AI. And you see it everywhere. You can go to Google Colab. Colab is the place we can learn about AI, and you can do it for free on Google hardware and even on Google very powerful hardware like GPU, all for free. So who is telling them that, guys, you need to start using AI? Now Google is telling them that. And that happens in every company. And then there is Andrew Ng, whom everybody knows. Andrew Ng is a professor at Stanford. He also founded Coursera. He just came up with a new course, AI for Everybody. And in this course, he explains how if you are a reasonably big company, more than $500 million cap, that's not all that much. Most of the public companies are that or more. Then you have to do AI. That is the only thing that will make a difference between you and your competitor. So according to Andrew Ng, there is no choice. If you want to survive, you have to become an AI company.
As you said correctly, 6 years ago, or let's say it's a decade that people talk about big data, and big data was expected to be one of the major revolutions in the enterprise world. And actually, it has been to an extent, it has been. There is perhaps a sense that we are at the cusp of a revolution, of a fundamental change. Is it because it's cool? Is it because people are seeing an opportunity? Or it's because this word, artificial intelligence, somehow touches us deeply.
Today, AI gives us real results. Facebook has face recognition. The project was published in 2015. It is called Deep Face, and it shows you exactly how they use technology, which was invented in 1999. The technology itself is 20 years old, but it only was possible to put it into production with today's hardware. So what happened is that we reached the level of hardware at which our previous research suddenly became practical and started to shine. For example, by now, Google Translate is quite good, right? I was in China and some of the things happened there before Google Translator. And people like to make fun of that. For example, at the airport, it says, all passengers are expected to follow the regulations. And if not, they will be disposed of according to the relevant laws. Well, that's not a perfect translation of what exactly they wanted to say. But I noticed that Google Translate, you can point it at Chinese and it will tell you what it means. Not perfect, everybody laughs, not exactly, but practical. By now, you can use it. This is what happened. The precision of our AI or machine learning grew above 90 and 95%. And at this level, you're just like human. Now, for those people who are not sure that what AI really is, it is simply a way to teach computer to do what humans do anyway. Because humans are very good at reading. Chinese are very good at reading Chinese. We're good at recognizing faces. But now the computers, when the computers can do this, this is called AI. And it's pretty hard for the computers to do this. So now that they do this, that's it. But the second part, apart from being now practical, and that's why now we have all this, I studied philosophy, as I mentioned, for 30 years, not for nothing. So there are points of view that in the future, at some point of human history, the earth will be full of knowledge and the desire for knowledge will increase. Well, this is a very dangerous thing to say because people like to refer ancient prophecies to their time. And then it turns out they were missing the point by 700 years. But that's something unavoidable. So I want to say that. I think we have come to the time when Earth is full of desire for knowledge and people want to learn.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit more what you're doing. And then I have a few follow-up questions that I wanted to ask.
Usually we get called by some kind of an organization that provides training. We call them a channel. For example, they work with Dell and Dell needs some training. So they provide training, not in the sense that they have it, they get in touch with companies like us. And sometimes we have to write a new course. Sometimes it's a course that we already have. So then we go to that location. So the two locations that I have in front of me are next week, it's Dell headquarters. It will be around Rock, Texas. And after that, Brazil. And I will be teaching some course in the deep technical area of how you develop your applications today and how you deploy them to the cloud. And the students will be about 15, 20 students in the class. Will go for 3 days. We'll be showing them the slides, but 50% of all of their work will be the labs. Usually, for the most part, is a technical guy, usually a data science person, software developer, or business analyst who deals mostly with data. That's 90% of our teaching. It may be a manager who is taking an overview course in AI, and it may be a group of fresh graduates whom some consulting company has hired, and now they want to bring their education and therefore hourly value up so that they can sell them for $400 an hour.
What are the trends that you're seeing that make, if you like, easier for them to learn?
One of the trends I see is that people are not afraid of technologies anymore. They always want more and more. It used to be different. It used to be like, teach us Hadoop and don't talk about anything else. And now they're saying, oh, you already taught us Hadoop. By the way, I heard something about Spark. Teach us that too. And then, oh, what is this machine learning? Or what is this AI? Can you tell us about this as well? Nobody is saying, let us stop here. I've spent enough brain power. I don't want to go any further. That changed. And people want to learn more and more.
You know, in terms of technologies, CC, you think this is a change in you know, collective psychology, or is there some help in reducing the access to technology, basically?
First of all, as I told you, people are not afraid of technologies. Secondly, the technologies are trying to become more amenable to people. They're always trying to simplify things so that more people can use them. So you have opposing trends. Things are not really easy. One example is Google. Google's trying to tell you that everything is easy and that, oh, machine learning, anybody can do it. And you can watch their I/O 2018, where they have a simple programmer who does machine learning. But I have also talked to people who are, let us say, he is the AI boss at one of the 5 largest US companies, and he says anybody who doesn't have mathematical education shouldn't even talk to me. He is not welcome in my class. And that's totally opposite point of view. But I think it's the trend of having, on the one hand, people becoming smart and they get more and more, and technologies are trying to become simpler and simpler.
You know, when we look at companies, do you think there is also a renewed interest in companies to uplift their workforce skills? And if that is the case, why?
It used to be that you need a few more people in this area, let us say data science, machine learning. Well, let us hire some consultants. That was the popular approach. And another popular approach was this, oh, but those consultants are expensive, so let's hire them in India or Philippines, outsource. What happened now is completely the opposite. Technologies are becoming more powerful. With one line of code, you can write much more. I'll give you an example. All of Hadoop code base is about, I think, 120,000 lines of code. The replacement, you can call it a replacement of Hadoop, does 4 times more in 4 times less. The Spark code base is 50,000 lines. So it is about 3 times less than Hadoop, but it does 4 times more because it comes with 4 new technologies out of the box. All right, so that means that outsourcing just doesn't work, because now it's mostly in the interaction between people. That's where the value is being created. And the interaction is pretty hard if somebody is 24 hours away from you, or if they are on a completely opposite side of the pole. So it turns out that you see a big movement back into the US, let us say, and no more outsourcing. Well, if no more outsourcing, what do? I educate the people. And this is, to me, the prevalent point of view. Instead of hiring more people who are very hard to find, and especially AI, data science, you just cannot get them. Everybody says, educate your own team. Don't fire those people, educate them. This is Andrew Ng's point of view. He creates a whole movement about educating the people in place. That's Coursera is all about. You can educate your current people, and we're part of such programs. Like we're doing a company-wide program for one of the big five, and we're teaching them machine learning. It's a 6 months program or 6 weeks program. They go through the exercises, 250 people per batch. And again, same idea. Don't hire new people with those skills. Take the old people who know the domain, because the domain is the most important knowledge. It's your data and understanding of your data. The tools will come.
So if companies are outsourcing less and investing more into their current workforce, okay, is there really a gap somewhere that you see in industrial processes where companies really need to hire like specialists? But do you think there is a place where advanced skills are necessary?
So one of the interesting things is that there is a new term. It's called narrow AI versus general AI. Narrow AI is where you can distinguish between the cats and the dogs. And you build a specific system to do just that. It will not do, let's just say, snakes versus rabbits, but it will do cats versus dogs very well. In that area, they're trying to productize and they're trying to simplify, but many people are interested in more general AI called GAI. And in this, at least according to the latest authorities, right now, there is nothing, almost nothing. And there is very little chance of success for now. So one of the arguments is today, definitely we need the nerds who can do generic AI, general one. It's a big question if it will ever happen that we will have a more general type of AI. But I would also add my own personal point of view, which is more like how do we work with computers? How do we work with machines? So there is one point of view that the machines get smart and eliminate the humans. Famous point of view. You have all science fictions for about 100 years about that happening. Another point of view is kind of more optimistic, is that it's a combination. We work with computers. So far, what we've seen is computers make you smarter. I see kids in my classes who reply to their friends by just reading Google. They're not even saying, I'm quoting or I read it on Google. It's a natural extension of their brain. You just search and you say what you found. So many people treat computers like friends, like helpers. There were attempts to give you glasses like this. There were attempts to put chips into your brain. None of them worked so far. But the whole idea is that computers will make people smarter. That's not my idea, but there are other people who expound the same idea. The chief futurologist at Google, that guy writes lots of science fiction and not science fiction books. And so that's his point of view as well, that computers do not eliminate humans, they just make humans smarter and help.
If your idea is not to augmenting human intelligence, then what is your vision for the future of the interaction between human and machines?
Instead of making me work less, computers make me work more, because I get the emails and I need to respond to the emails just to start this. But eventually I feel that if you give a very smart program that will be able to do some kind of AI to a human, then that human will have to decide, well, on a higher level, what should I do with my life? What products should I design? What higher level thinking should I do? And that's where I see things are going. People are becoming, in this area, not everybody, people are becoming higher level thinkers given this additional hardware. Of course, whatever I say has exceptions. It's not a universal point of view. People do outsourcing. They don't always educate their teams. But here's one interesting example I heard just yesterday from Andrew Ng. Andrew Ng was saying that he used hair salon, a place where you get a haircut, as one example that's not completely automated. So here's one area where computers will never reach. And meanwhile, his friend says, Andrew, I can make my robot do any kind of hairstyle, but some I still cannot do. Yours, however, is very easy. So he was disproved right then and there. You have computers who can do haircuts.
Is that something that you think can be envisioned in the near future, or to what extent in the near future the job of software engineer will be helped by machine learning?
So I heard there is a startup that goes through the popular questions and answers on Stack Overflow, which of course is a site where people ask questions about programming and get answers. And from these questions and answers, it composes a program. Accordingly, if that's true, or if it will be true soon, computers will help you code. But who is the person who is designing the whole overall system? Who is the person who is setting up the whole approach? That's you. And in here, everybody agrees we're way, way far away from any help from computers. Here's one example where the computers are good. How do I solve that very specific problem? How do I write a conversion from a string to a float? Here's one example where the computers are pretty bad. Here's an email. Could you write a compassionate answer to this human? So this second thing is nowhere near the capabilities of the computers, if it ever will be. Therefore, to the programmer, it seems like the programmer will get some help on simple things. And that's already great. Computers could not write code, and now they are beginning to be able to write code. But, and I'm thinking about example of what I'm trying to do in my startup. The overall design, what is it I'm trying to even do? That is very far away from computers, if it ever will be.
What do you think, in your opinion, is the right criteria, the right approach to decide when society should adopt machine learning despite the bias or should not?
On the one hand, I'm writing a chapter in a book talking about exactly a question. How do we detect bias in the AI application? And it's a book for the lawyers, and I'm explaining how you request the relevant information so that we can start looking for the bias in those decisions. And I'm going into technical details. I'm saying that, you know, every mathematical model is hidden from you, and it's often in a binary object. However, there is an exchange format that you can request. You can say, give me the what is called PMML. That is a way to save your model and read it. So on the one hand, there seems to be a clear technology that will allow us to investigate this question. But the whole question of bias itself depends upon, that's also bias. You know, there is a certain limit where we say it is free speech. There's also a limit where we say that is a hate speech. Where do we put the distinctive mark? That is a very human decision, right? And the whole human society has biases, and some of them are considered good biases, like democracy. In many places is considered a good bias, and if you're against democracy, you're probably a bad guy. But there are other places where it's totally the opposite, where the monarchy is just the right way to go, and democracy should be eliminated. So in that sense, the whole bias question is no easier than the whole human bias question. The computers will have their biases. Humans will also have their biases. There is no difference in that sense between computers and humans. So no help in that sense. You guys will have to figure out your biases on your own.
Thank you so much for being here. To our audience, it is an honor and privilege to have you here. If you have questions about this specific episode, please comment below. And if you have additional suggestions, please reach out to me through the various ways. You can do it on YouTube or LinkedIn. And Mark, thank you so much for being here today. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure to talk to you, as always.